Welcome along to a live reaction to the Italian Grand Prix, where today we saw an absolute barnstormer of a race, or as Frank would say, a copper-bottomed belter. Lads, I don't even know where to start with this one. Pierre Gasly, just immense today. We'll go to Luke first. Luke, what's your first impression? What were your first thoughts on today?
The first thing I was thinking of when this race started to unfold was just it's the conversations we were having the day. We were painting quite a bleak picture as to what was going to happen in this race. I think our conversation went towards something like, who do you think is going to get the final podium spot? But it just unfolded into one of those crazy races that you see from time to time, and I think we needed it. But it was thank God for Magnussen pulling off to the side of the road, just at the side before the pit lane, because that was the catalyst for the field jumbling up. Possibly for Leclerc being out of position and pushing a bit too hard on the safety car restart. And then that was red flag, and then that just put everything in place for it to just all the pieces were there for it to be a very mixed up podium, and it was brilliant.
Absolutely, Frank.
Gasly drove a brilliant race. Handled the restart really well. But I think Alpha Tauri sort of they were given all the tools to win. But it's what you do with those tools that you. What am I trying to say? It's what you do with those tools that helps you win. So I think they did a good job in managing that, because we know Sainz was coming back and coming through the field, and another lap or two would have got him. Yeah.
Absolutely. Hats off. The one thing that we kind of saw, I think, after the safety car and after the restart, is that Gasly appeared to be controlling the gap and holding on to his energy and just in general trying to control everything from the front, and he did a great job on that. But we saw signs coming back at him, and quite rapidly towards the end. But I think he only finished 4/10 behind at the flag. I wonder if there had been another lap, could Carlos Sainz have pulled it off?
I'm a bit skeptical. You'd like to think, there's what ifs in a lot of Formula One races. But I think that last lap was ultimately McLaren just absolutely every bit of electrical energy that they had spare, saying to Carlos, go for it. And if the race had been one lap longer, he may have had to recover the lost energy a little bit and sip, and then Gasly might have had an easier time defending the last lap. So I'm not too sure that the whole if there was just one more lap kind of argument stands up, but you never know. You never know what drivers, how they handle the pressure. Another lap of Sainz being that close might have forced Gasly into a mistake. If maybe, but I think it was really well from Gasly. I can't remember him putting any kind of real wrong when he took the lead of the race very early on. And like Frank alluded to, it was one of the restart. I think at the start of it all, we were thinking. Well, I was thinking this is a great opportunity for Lance Stroll, because he was the one who was starting right behind Lewis Hamilton, but his start was poor. He made the mistake second chicane, and Gasly was the one who kept his nose clean and challenging Mercedes into the first chicane. So Gasly was the man who handled all the pressure and delivered. It was the drive of an already accomplished race winner. I think.
Absolutely, it's one of those races that I think, yes, there was luck involved, there was circumstances involved, and everything like that in it. But at the end of the day, Pierre didn't make a single error. He controlled the circumstances that happened to him. Plus, he had that great restart at the second start. And, you know, hats off to him. He took his chance and he ran with it, which is more than can be said for, you know, some other drivers on the grid. So, like, if we pick apart the bones of the race, like, he started from, I think it was P10, and he had that that first corner, like, slight touch with Alex Albon. And from there, he just kind of, he kept his head down, he stayed quiet, and he pitted, I think it was just before the safety car intervention and the subsequent red flag. So, you know, he started the second half of the race in prime position for a podium position, but to actually vault past Lance Stroll and to inherit the lead then when Hamilton pitted at the end of the first lap, Pierre handled it like he'd done it 100 times before.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And I think with the whole safety car scenario, you know, let's not forget it was the safety car that done him over in the previous race at Spa. You know, he was on course for I think Franz Todt said after the race it could have been five or something like that in Belgium. So you know, there's for me there's an element of swings and roundabouts about it all. You know, safety car screwed him over in one race, in the other balances out to a balances itself out, albeit with a huge reward at Monza, but I don't think anyone's going to begrudge the look.
Driver of the day, Frank?
It's got to be Pierre, isn't it? I mean, there's arguments to Carlos Sainz too, but Pierre just Carlos did have a flawless race.
Absolutely, he didn't make a single error, and it's only circumstance that put him behind Gasly in the first place.
Yeah. So I'm giving it 50 because I did notice on the official vote was tied by 24% each. So I don't think we can call out a single driver of the day. Now that I think about it, I would equally to Pierre and Carlos. I tell you who isn't driver of the day.
Go on.
Bottas.
Yeah, the man with every excuse under the sun at the moment.
Yeah. Is it? I've got tire problems. No, you haven't. No. Oh, have I got damage? No.
There's nothing wrong at all.
Nothing wrong, Valtteri. Carry on.
No, it was a poor start for Valtteri, and then he had the that mistake then into the second chicane on the opening lap, and he was wrong-footed. He doesn't look like a champion in waiting in any form, or any stretch of the imagination. Luke, did you think Valtteri showed how weak he is in wheel-to-wheel battle today?
I think it's he maybe highlighted one of the weaknesses in the Mercedes. He was having to cool the car a lot, whereas a lot of drivers were able to comfortably sit slipstream other drivers for lap after lap. He was constantly being told to dip out of it and just not follow directly behind drivers. So I think there's probably something in that hasn't helped him. Lewis Hamilton was able to make a place when he went to the back of the field, but he was mostly racing against Williams and Ferrari cars during that stint. So he was always likely to have more of an advantage than say Bottas versus the quick in a straight line Renaults. It is still surprising that he was behind these drivers for the entirety of the Grand Prix. It's even if you can't blame the car for him not being able to get past, the problem still lies in that he lost the place in the first place. It's just down to the start. Whereas we'll say the same for Gasly that his quick starting restarts gave him not the win, but helped him a long way towards the win. Valtteri Bottas' start initially was the main factor in him not being able to challenge for the win, or even a podium when the opportunity was there. So it's it's a shame that he wasn't able to make the most of the opportunity and to capitalise on the misfortune for Hamilton. But still, not a great race. It's hard to defend. Really.
I thought it was quite funny that yesterday after qualifying, Valtteri was all cock of the walk, all cocky and about the engine modes, and was all like, "Oh, I don't think Red Bull will be too happy about like our engine modes today and everything like that." And then today, in the early part of the race, after he'd lost the precious lead that Mercedes seemed to need to have, it was all like, "Oh, these engine modes are preventing me from racing, and this is a joke," and everything like that. And I think that was quite funny after how cocky he was on Saturday. But I think it was a weak drive from Valtteri. I think Lewis is making an absolute mockery of him. I think there are several drivers who are making a mockery of Valtteri at the moment. I don't know whether it's pressure that's getting to him and knowing that he should be performing better. We've seen that before with other drivers not being able to match the performances that are expected of them. So I think this was overall probably one of Valtteri's weakest weekends, and he spent like the rest of the race complaining about the car not being able to turn right correctly and wondering whether there was something wrong with the car. And Mercedes have said the same thing. They think that he was struggling to turn the car right throughout the entire race. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense because there doesn't seem to have been a huge amount of damage to the car. But overall, how would you rate Valtteri's race, Frank?
Well. I think I said on Friday that we've seen more and more races where Valtteri's led in turn one in second, but then he's come out fifth or sixth. I'm looking at the lap chart here. By lap two, he was sixth. That's just not good enough when you've got the fastest car and potentially. I think what is keeping Bottas on his toes is getting year extension contract. And they're not. Is that right? It's only got another year.
Yeah, it's to the end of 21. Yeah.
That tells me everything I need to know. Maybe Mercedes are just biding their time until maybe George Russell comes to fruition, or they can get something else in. They need somebody else. I think.
But do they? While they have Hamilton, they do not need.
Bottas could win this race.
Yeah, but so could Hamilton, and so should Hamilton without extraneous circumstances. So why did they need Valtteri? Or why did they need someone better than Valtteri?
Because you need somebody who's going to be capitalising. If one car goes, you need the other one there to win the race. And they don't have that. It's the same with Red Bull with Albon. Verstappen always seems to be there. He always seems to be getting winning position, whereas Albon's always down in P15, languishing in the lower half of the points.
Yeah, let's move on to Red Bull actually, because it was a very low-key weekend for them, and it's clearly not the Honda power unit because it won the race. But Max Verstappen had issues with his power unit halfway through the race and had to retire, and hadn't looked particularly competitive all weekend anyway. He would have been on for points, but not really looking like he was best of the rest this weekend. While Alex Albon had a little bit of a coming together with Gasly and Romain Grosjean at the start, and picked up a 5-second time penalty for that, and just spent the rest of the race circulating at the back really with damage. And Christian Horner said that that damage was costing him around 1 second a lap. So just overall a very low-key weekend for Red Bull, Luke.
I mean it's low key. It's just one of those races where they weren't head and shoulders above the midfield. That's all. At any point in the weekend. So they were just in the mix with everybody else. When you're in the mix in the bulk of the midfield, you've got more chance of things going wrong. Like what happened with Albon at the start. I think listening to the coverage, I think it was described as the floor looked like it had a big shark bite out of it or something like that. So yeah, just a unlucky weekend for Red Bull, and it's not ultimately going to cost them too much. They're still going to be on for a comfortable second in the constructors championship. I think realistically they're really going to be fighting for the occasional win. Monza, I think was always going to be a bit of a leveler for the field. And it just wasn't Red Bull's weekend. There's not much more to say. There's no real rhyme or reason. It was just one of those weekends.
Yeah, just a couple of interesting little things to pick up on with Gasly winning the race. Obviously, it puts them level with Verstappen and Red Bull in the amount of wins they have for the year. But it's also Jody Egginton's first win as a technical director after 25 years and messing around and being close to Formula 1. He had a few years away from F1 in the late 90s, but it's actually Egginton's first win as a technical director. So, well done to Jody.
Well done to him. Yeah. Sure. It'll be a moment he'll never forget.
Absolutely not, no. And obviously, the last time a French driver won a Grand Prix was back in 1996, which was actually the year Egginton started in Formula 1. But that was with Olivier Panis. And funnily enough, what engine was in the back of his Ligier on that day?
Mugen Honda.
It was a Mugen Honda engine. So a nice little bit of bookcasing there, I think, for France's return to the top step of the podium. And I think I like those kind of little silly things that act as bookmarks.
Oh yeah. Great little fact.
Yeah, but right, let's move on to Ferrari. I know they don't really want to be talked about at the moment, do they? But you have to address them. They were appalling today.
I think I might as a summarizing fact of Ferrari recent times. I think in I'm right in saying in the last 10 Italian Grand Prix, they have the same amount of wins as Alpha Tauri / Toro Rosso in the last 10 Italian Grand Prix. So I think that's a nice little summary of what's going on there.
There's your silly little stat, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so Ferrari started from wherever they started, towards the back.
17th, 12th, was it? 13th?
Leclerc was 13th, I think, and Vettel 17th at the start of the race. And Vettel didn't gain any positions at the start. And then he made it through a blistering 5 laps of the race before he had brake failure into turn 1. And I know we were talking about this the other day, about the first chicane, and if you could avoid the first chicane and just go straight on into Curva Grande.
Can I just stop you there, Thomas? What are you conducting?
I'm not. I'm holding a screw. I'm not sure if you.
Your arm just sort of keeps disappearing in a shot.
It's like being in a Hans Zimmer gig.
It's one of those. You can't see it. Having a fake background is weird.
I keep like a green ghost appearing as well. There he is.
I keep fidgeting. I'm holding a screw in my hand, and I'll put it down. But yeah, the point
He needs a tan.
The point I was making was that if you were able to barrel in to Curva Grande and avoid the first chicane, it'd be great most of the time. But in, say, Vettel's case today, where he had a brake failure, if he had that brake failure without the first chicane being there, he would have had the mother and father of accidents, either at Curva Grande or at the Rettifilo chicane. And it's not really all that good a look, is it, for Ferrari to suffer a major brake failure on the 6th lap of a Grand Prix, is it?
What was Leclerc's retirement due to?
A mistake. It was just literally he lost the rear of the car. Luke, what do you think? Do heads need to roll at Ferrari after another terrible performance?
I mean, this is one of those races where you've just got to be in it. Just you know, a lot like what George Russell was saying in qualifying. When these mistakes kind of happen, you've got to be the ones. If it was the back of the field, you've got to be the ones that are going to be able to capitalize on things like this. Like Ferrari were just. They just weren't able to. In fact, they were, in a way, they were the catalyst for the mad race. Leclerc's out the red flag, which, blah 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 blah, and yeah, it doesn't bode very well when, for all Ferrari's problems, the thing that you think should be sort of bread and butter to them goes wrong as well. The braking system, but I think I think, like I was saying the other day, I think Ferrari have generally been given the benefit of the doubt until 2022. I think they're being given the management there are being given a chance to recover things. They know they've got two years of this, and then it's the big rule change. So I think where Ferrari have been quite cutthroat in the past, maybe they'll benefit from just riding out the bad fortune a little bit and trying to see the positives, or just sticking with it and just seeing if this team can go through it. Because I think if they didn't have faith in the team that they have there, it's only getting later and later to do something about it in time for the 2022 regulation changes. And so, and with that in mind, I think with excess changes or too many changes in personnel will probably be detrimental to their preparations for it. So I do think they're kind of, I don't want to say stuck with personnel, but I can maybe see why they might be interested in just seeing how they can recover.
I mean, you prepare for races like Monza. You know the toll it takes on the engine, the brakes. I don't know what's going on at Ferrari. They seem lackluster in every department. Their strategy seems to be off. Their car just doesn't. I know it's down on power, but it looked a handful through the corners. Like you said, that off I thought was a brake failure, but it was Leclerc making a mistake, and the back end was loose around the parabolica. I don't know what Ferrari do. They've got to concentrate on 2022, because at the end of the day, they can't waste too many resources on fixing this car. It's where you expect the downforce to have proper kicked in by then, the car to be fairly stable. So for that to have happened, I just. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm wondering if it was just because this was immediately after the safety car, wasn't it? So I'm wondering if it was maybe just a bit of cold tires plus maybe a smidge of exuberance at being in such a, unexpectedly high position. I imagine Charles was, you know, not expecting to be running in, what was he at the time? P4, P5, something like that. I think he was. I think he was definitely. I think north of P6 personally, but
I'm trying to find him on the live timing. He got up to 6th. Yeah. We're prepared.
Yeah, and given that he had a couple of Alfa Romeos not too far in front of him, he probably thought he could have had them as well. So yeah, maybe it was just a bit of exuberance. I mean, like you say, he admitted to the error, but yeah, I think maybe it could be cold tires as well. Because was he on the hard tires as well? Was he? Okay, so I mm, not necessarily. No, I think they probably achieved what they wanted to at the start, which was to get Raikkonen in front of Giovinazzi and use Antonio as a rear gunner to maybe try and disrupt the rest of the pack, whilst Raikkonen makes a break for it. Because obviously Giovinazzi was the other one who had the stop and go penalty for the closed pit lane infringement. So I think the start worked out as they wanted it to, and I don't think they could have really expected any better. In fact, I think Raikkonen was challenging Gasly on the restart as well. So yeah, so fair play. You gave it a good go from there, but I think ultimately, yeah, I think maybe if he was on the medium or hard tires, he might have just fallen back a bit sooner, just through lack of raw pace. So maybe the soft tires was, you know, just gave him a bit of an edge to see if he could break away, and then, you know, as if you're maintaining track position, you never know what's going to happen in a race. So I guess they thought, maybe try and maintain the track position for as long as possible, and then just maybe hope for a bit more Monza craziness, which ultimately didn't come. But I think they gave themselves the best chance, and fair play to them for, even though they backed into a corner, fair play to them for going for it.
Yeah, I would assume as well that the team received a notification on the computer system, and of course it's you could do a lot in 12 seconds. Believe me, Thomas. Not going to allude into what that is, but I did see the footage of Lewis going in to see the stewards, but I think Hamilton should be more angry at his team rather than the stewards, because I think 12 seconds is ample amount of time for the team to go, stay out, because they use old phones, stay out, and sound is quite fast. It would reach him. I don't have any sympathy, I'm afraid. And he knows the rules, and the driver of his caliber should be aware of to look at his surroundings. And like you said, all the other drivers saw it, and there were drivers quite close behind him. Okay.
I think there is a little bit of bad luck in that. It isn't like the drivers aren't made aware of where all these kind of signals and boards and details of the circuit are, because they tend to map these things out quite well in the pre-race notes and other such nomenclature that they probably didn't read before the start of a weekend. So I don't think the stewards could be blamed for closing the pit lane or things like that, because if you've got marshals recovering a car, the last thing you want is a Formula One car hurtling towards the pit lane, which is only a matter of a few feet away from where Magnussen parked his car. So I understand the decision to do that, especially if because if the safety car comes out and absolutely everybody goes into the pit lane, you've got cars trying to race as closely as they can to the pit lane, and that's sometimes a recipe for a little bit of shenanigans, which is just not what you want when marshals are trying to recover a car. So I think closing the pit lane is the right decision, definitely, but I do have a bit of sympathy in that it is a unique scenario that hasn't been seen in many races before, having to close the pit lane for an incident, because drivers, normally a safety car, a lot of team strategy depends on there being a safety car and then being able to dive in the pit straight away whilst the time loss is reduced. So yeah, a bit of sympathy from my part, but not so much that it shouldn't have been a penalty. Yeah, Formula One got some much needed positive, engaging content for them, and I've no doubt that the social media teams are just going to be putting it on loop for the next few days before we get to Mugello in less than a week's time. But yeah, definitely. I mean, the last couple of races. Yeah, I mean, I always try to not be, knocking the sport too much, but the last couple of races have been a bit processional, to say the least. And to have a mad race like this, it just sort of calms everyone down a little bit, in that you have fewer people wishing for the sport to be completely turned on its head. And a team like Mercedes, it'll probably do them good to have this one mad race in the season, because then it might mean that fewer people are pushing for completely radical switches that are going to come into effect immediately and disrupt everything. So yeah, good for Formula One, definitely. Yeah, I'm wondering if it's maybe giving people a taste for reverse grid races, because that's sort of what we had, and yeah, I don't mind it. I think that. Okay, so to maybe pose another question, do you think that these kind of these slightly more processional races are required to make the effects of a mad race even greater, like a bigger high? Or do you or you wanted? Do well, I kind of extended it to saying, do you think these processional races are needed to make the ones that go a bit mad even sweeter, or do you think that, or, or do you think we should still be chasing these kind of semi-berserk races on a regular basis?
I think a Formula One season needs a narrative. So complete bonkers season would let me put it this way. Like I know 2012 was a mad season where we had 7 different winners in 7 different races, but there has to be that underlying sort of storyline, if you like. Like I always compare Formula One season to like a film where there's always something at the beginning where you learn the situation, you learn the lay of the land, then you have all the fun, then you have the end, the big climax at the end, and there has to be some sort of there has to be some sort of thing that we can focus our attention on. Like I don't know what I'm trying to say. So I think the last time we got a really good story was the Rosberg-Hamilton rivalry. We knew Mercedes were fast, and we knew they were probably going to win, but we didn't know which Mercedes was going to win, and that's the storyline that we can head across. It would be too sort of mad for us to just suddenly have a McLaren pop in and then the story would get messy at the end. Am I making any sense?
Mm.
Yeah, but ideally, I'd like to see different teams lead that story rather than the same team again and again. And I think there was a period between sort of, I would say 2005 to 2013 where there was an air of unpredictability, but there was a team that was sort of the team to beat. Yes. And at the moment, we've got the benchmarks so high that nobody else can touch them. And I think I agree with Luke in some ways that this was probably a good sort of citer for reverse grids and qualifying races. But I also agree with you, Thomas, that it's a bit of a gimmick, like DRS was. Now it's become ingrained in the racing because of the way that the cars generate. Like I never have a DRS overtake as my top 10 overtakes in the race, if there is indeed 10 overtakes in a race, which sometimes there isn't. But I'm being overly pessimistic. But yeah, I think there's got to be a balance. I don't think tonight we can fix the problem together. We can try, but there are more intelligent and many more people than us who have tried to fix the problem over the last 7 years and haven't really come up with anything yet. I've just told you my answer, maybe. Yeah.
Can I give a yes, but with an asterisk? Asterisk. How do you say it? Just to reduce the effect of the reverse grid races. So much like it's reduced points in Formula 2 for the reverse grid sprint race, I think you'd have to really dampen down the effect of winning a reverse grid race, just so that the gimmick doesn't overshadow what would probably be the top teams winning in the feature races. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah, so yes with a but.
You should work for Ferrari.
Should we leave the mad anybody can win races to Formula E? Yeah.
Wait. Shut the front door. Did he really? Like a full season?
As a stand-in for Sebastian Buemi at the New York E-Prix doubleheader, was it? Yeah. No points though, I think, on his first weekend in Formula E. Only weekend in Formula E.
Good on the lad. Yeah. Hey, one thing I do want to speak to you about, Pierre, is that very emotive sort of sat there on the podium, penny for your thoughts kind of situation really got to me. And I don't know if it got to the rest of you guys, where he was just sat there sort of drinking it all in. It was really quite sort of something.
I hope Gasly. Yeah. A couple of things from that for me is, one, I hope Gasly continues to be equally as bonkers whenever he gets on the podium or gets a win, because he just goes absolutely berserk on the radio and it's amazing to listen to. Yeah, definitely. And the second thing for me is you know how the Italian Grand Prix, sponsored by, it's the Heineken Italian Grand Prix. Am I the only one who thinks that the trophies look a bit like a beer pump face? Like you go to a bar and you just see like
I didn't, but I do now.
Yeah, like
yeah,
like you just go to the bar and you're just looking at them from the front, and it's just like, oh, there's the big Heineken star. I'll have a Heineken, please. Yeah,
but don't drink and drive, Luke. That's what we're saying.
If you drink, never drive.
Yes,
I think is the latest one. Yeah, nobody has to apologize for being delighted for a nice guy. I think everybody's really happy for him, and yeah, and hopefully it's the start of more success and something that can validate a proper stick to it attitude, never give up, all those kind of cliches that seem to apply to him at the moment. It's great.
Well, I was going to float around the idea of maybe him joining a top team, not necessarily Red Bull, because I think that ship sailed. But today's put him in the shop window for a lot of teams, definitely.
For 2022?
Oh, yes. Do you not think they were stuck in the dirty air? Because they were in that sort of angry midfield pack that were... And Ricciardo was piling on the pressure to Bottas. If Bottas wasn't there, I think he would have got Norris. Hmm. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I think there have been a lot of people that would have expected Ocon to be matching Ricardo fairly quickly. I think in a normal season, you'd probably expect somebody who's had a year out and and is just coming back into it to maybe not be on the pace of his teammates straight away. But yeah, it's looking like the driver who's leaving the team is still going to be the number one at the team, and they'll really be wanting Ocon to be at least matching Ricardo, so they can then at least gauge if Alonso's still going to do a decent job when he comes in. So I think if it is as like an aggressive tone as what you're saying from Ocon, then yeah, maybe he does need to tone that down a little bit, because I think you have to a degree, you have to earn the right to be that snappy with your team. I mean, I don't think anybody should ever really snap at their team, but it's Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, he's scoring points, and I think he's getting closer, but he's not quite there yet. So maybe simmer down a little bit.
He's had a year out of competitive racing though.
Quite possibly. I do agree with that. Pierre could maybe do to move away from the Red Bull fold because the second Red Bull seat seems a bit of a poison chalice at the moment, and if I was Pierre Gasly, I'd be maybe thinking I'd quite fancy staying in Alpha Tauri for 2021, and like you say, try and negotiate a move elsewhere. Not too many Red Bull Junior drivers have done it where they've sort of escaped the Red Bull Academy and been able to tell the tale at another team. But yeah, I think he should look to move away. As for Ocon, yeah, there's still a long way to go in this season. So if he picks up his performances in the second half of the season, he should be fine and have enough of a say at the team to begin with in 2021. Yeah, so and Ocon, this season I think he gave a good performance in one of the wet qualifying at Austria. I think he gave a good account of himself. So there's still a kind of raw pace there, I believe. I think hopefully just give him a bit of time to show it, and he'll be okay for this season, I think.
No, I agree. I just think I think Ocon will be a better driver next year. I think this year was always going to be a sort of consolidation year for him, finding his feet again, because a year out of Formula One is quite tough. As we saw with initially with Nico Hulkenberg, but he did get up to speed pretty well. Yes, but Ocon's a strong racer. We've seen that in the past. He took on Perez. Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's what you're going to need for Fernando, because Fernando does like to air his views on the radio, and I don't think Cyril's going to get away with telling Fernando to shut up, because he won't. But you have to be mentally strong to take on Fernando. But I think Fernando on the other side. Fernando has mellowed out a lot. We saw in the latter years of McLaren, he was quite humbled by. Yes, but maybe that little stint at McLaren where they were in the doldrums might have mellowed him out a bit. But maybe a taste of victory will. Really? Okay. Yeah. I mean, you don't get to Formula One by not thinking that way, but it's going to be interesting. I think Ocon will get up to speed fairly quickly against him. I'm quite optimistic because I do rate Ocon. We've seen some stellar drives from him in the past.
Yeah, it was, listening to the messages at the end of the race, the tributes from, and the thanks from George and Nicholas at the checkered flag. It was touching for them to say those kind words to them. And yeah, I think Claire's been great for the sport. I don't think she's done anything wrong with Williams. I think it's just, a lot of it's just the cards she's been dealt. Um, you know, I, I, I don't, I'll sort of, I still think it's still great that it's still going to be the Williams team and it's still the Williams facilities and it's all the Williams staff and I think at the heart it is still going to be Williams. Obviously, it's just going to have a bit of a different feel with the different figureheads. Uh, so I think it is nice that they still retain the kind of Williams infrastructure, and I think if they can keep hold of that, then it's still going to feel a little bit like Williams still. Hopefully, that might just be wishful thinking, um, but I think I think at the start of the race they did they have a little thing where they brought Claire to the pit garages and she brought out the cars for one last time in front of the garages, sending them to the grid and stuff. And I, I thought that was great. And I'll be honest, I spent a lot of this race as well keeping an eye on Nicholas Latifi, who was probably having his best race in Formula One so far. And he was for the whole race. He seemed like he was only just a second or two away from the points positions, and yeah, part of me was just willing him on to for something to happen, and he'd just be able to nick a point, which I think, albeit Williams would have had bigger ambitions years ago, it would have still been nice to kind of to get on the score sheet as a send off. And ultimately, I think that's 2 11th place finishes now Latifi has this season, which is a tad unlucky, but yeah, I think the whole weekend's just been lovely, and if anything, it was just gonna be a timely reminder as to how much we'll miss the Williams family being there.
Yeah, exactly. I think I said on Friday this is probably one of the last characters that we've got in Formula One, especially in the team principals area. And Claire certainly is her father's daughter. She's got that sort of passion and drive that he's always had, but that sense of humour that Frank's always had. Yeah, and it's sad that Latifi didn't get a point. I was keeping an eye on him too, and bittersweet. I did see at the end. I got a bit emotional when they were giving the radio messages over, and Claire was, sort of a bit misty-eyed and stuff. And then I started, and then everyone else started in the house, and it was just, But yeah, it's not the end of Williams, of course, but yeah, it's sad, isn't it? Really good. Yeah. I hope they don't go all corporate, and you need privateer teams, and they might get like a major manufacturer on board straight away, and it might be something like, I'm plucking something out of my backside here, but it might be something like Toyota Williams, or do you know what I mean? It's sort of you need privateer teams.
I think they've earned a bit of private life now, haven't they?
Yeah.
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 It's borderline incomprehensible.
Don't go on it. Frank Parker F1, is it? I don't know. Yeah.
It is at Lucas Murph.